Hey y'all, Laura here with Cox Homestead, and in today's video I'm going to share with you all about cleaning my rabbitry. Now I have to confess, the worst part about animal husbandry, and most all of life in my opinion, is cleaning. I don't love it, but it is so essential and required to raising animals and being a human being on this earth. We have to clean. It's a part of everything. If not, we deal with illnesses in our animals and illnesses in our own health. Right now, I am snuggling a little polyface rabbit with some really unique colors. Someone said it's like a blue tort. I'm not sure what's going on and how it's going to develop, but I'm keeping an eye on it, hoping that it may be a good fit to keep in my rabbitry for its cuteness level. I like it. It's a little windy outside, so I'm not sure if you're going to hear some of that, but if you hear a weird noise happening, it's a big huge wind. That's all I know what to say. It's a big huge wind. All right, so I'm going to start off by telling you that it is essential that you have some sort of routine down for cleaning your rabbitry. Depending on the size of your rabbitry may determine how often that cleaning needs to be done. Also, the airflow within your rabbitry can determine how often things need to be cleaned. The time of year can determine how often you need to do it, so on and so forth. As you can see, there are a lot of variables. I'm just going to share with you some of the routines and patterns that we have here at Cox Homestead for our rabbitry. And I will tell you, I wouldn't call my rabbitry a huge, famous, Instagram-worthy, beautiful rabbitry. But I would say my rabbitry is sanitary, healthy, and producing very good kits for a minimal budget and what we can do to provide for our family. So the first thing that I want to encourage you to do is to have a weekly check-in on all rabbit cages. This means you're going to go around, wipe down cages, removing excess fur, remove any excess poop that's piled up in the rabbitry, remove any hay that's cluttered around, and check for holes in your rabbit cage to make sure that a little kit can't escape or that a rabbit won't get cut from a poking out wire, so on and so forth. You need to have a weekly routine of examining all cages and rest pads and nest boxes if those are in there at that time. I found a volunteer to come once a week that kind of keeps me accountable for this. She is working on maybe a barter system. I'm going to help her get started on her rabbitry, and she's getting to learn alongside of me. But just simply the fact of knowing that she comes the same time every week gets me out here every week checking on all the stuff I need to in my rabbitry. So she helps me wipe down the cages, check all the rest pads, and get rid of any buildup that has happened on the cages. She also helps me keep an eye on feeders and waterers if we're having any issues with those, or we occasionally wash those down. Now, I do not wash rabbit waterers every week or on a monthly basis or on some sort of routine. The waterers are on a as needed basis. Here's why. Our water bottles naturally stay a little urine stained, simply from spraying bucks and just it being an animal habitat. And the urine kind of sticks and doesn't come off of that plastic very well at all. I'm sure I could probably come up with some sort of solution, a chemical or maybe a magic eraser to keep that removed, but that is not in my time budget. And so I don't worry about that. What I do focus on with my water bottles is making sure that the insides of the bottles are clean. And so our water bottles are cleaned on an as needed basis. You don't want a bunch of debris piling up in there that's going to clog your water bottles up to keep your rabbits from drinking. Also, if you use a line system or a all-in-one multi-cage system for watering your rabbits, you need to make sure that there's not any leaks on that and that the tubes are clear and that there's no debris building up in the bottom of the bucket. So I would say you're seeing those water bottles or those watering systems every day, more than likely, when you're watering. And so usually I remedy any issues when I'm in my routine daily care for those water bottles. But if you need to put it on your weekly list, not a bad idea to go through and check all the water bottles on a regular, consistent basis. During breeding season, when I have a lot of kits and a lot of nursing moms with a lot of poop, I clean all the poop out of my rabbitry about once a month. We have at least 15 breeders right now, and that makes for a lot of poop between them and their offspring. In the springtime, I sell all the poop I have. And so if I want to have any poop for myself, I have to use it in the winter months, the off season for gardeners. And so I use most of that in the off season, and then I sell about all of it in the spring seasons. And that seems to work out pretty well for our rabbitry and our pattern and rhythm. In the summer months, when I don't have a bunch of kits in here, I can get by going a little bit longer without removing that poop, maybe a couple times in the whole span of summer versus a regular monthly routine. I use the bucket method, and this is definitely not the method that everyone should use. You have to come up with what works for you, but it's what's worked for us. And I put buckets under my cages in spots where my rabbits are routinely pooping and collect their poop. And then when that bucket is full, I put a bag over top of it and I dump that poop in, and I have that poop to remove. It's a full 5-gallon bucket of poop that I know that I can sell to someone without having to fill the bucket with 5 gallons and then dump it into the bag. I immediately know, hey, I have a 5-gallon bucket full, I can sell this to somebody. Or let's say I have 2 halves full, I can combine those and then dump it in, so on and so forth. So having a scheduled routine for your poop, especially during breeding season, is important. Raising rabbits doesn't take a lot of time, but it does take you being diligent with knowing that you have to have a few things on your calendar to take care of. One being cages, the other being manure. Another thing I like to do in my rabbitry is power wash. I typically power wash my rabbitry 2 times a year. It could use it a lot more than that, but it's quite an ordeal involving removing my rabbits, covering cages that don't have rabbits removed, getting something to hold the rabbits in outside while I spray the cages inside. Is an all day, or if not a 2-day ordeal for me to power wash this rabbitry. So most of the time it happens in the spring and in the fall or summer when I have maybe some extra hands here to help me with it, showing up to be accountable to help me get it done. If I schedule it with somebody, even if you have to pay that somebody, scheduling it helps me to get it done. And so I do like to power wash my rabbitry at least twice a year. This year I have only done it once, and I wish that I would have got it done a second time, but I got the first one done later in the season than usual, and so I wasn't on the spring-fall rotation this year, and so I did it in the summer, and so it wasn't quite that bad when fall hit. So me and my farm helper have been working hard to take care of the cages without that power wash, with getting back on routine in the spring to do it spring and fall. It is very important to watch for troubled areas on your cages. If you do not keep up on those problem areas, you can end up with things like sorehawks and cages falling apart from rust and excess poop and urine and hay building up in that spot. You have to keep an eye on problem areas in your cage. Those problem areas need attention at least once a week, if not twice a week. This has happened to me one time before, and I ended up not noticing the problem area because it was in the back corner of a large cage, and I did have a case of sorehawks. And I know without a shadow of a doubt it was due to poor genetics and my poor hygiene skills when it comes to these cages. And so I confess I had made a mistake, and I have learned from that mistake. And one step of improving that is getting someone out here on a regular basis to help keep me accountable and help have another set of eyes on my cages. Having help may not be an option for you. Or so you may think it's not. But trust me, it is. There are people out there that would love to come hang out with you in your rabbitry. Just make sure you are being kind to them in return, blessing them in return, or paying them, whether in poop or in rabbits or in meat, whatever it is. Make sure they're feeling blessed by coming out to help you in your rabbitry. Here are the tools that I use to clean my rabbit cage. This is an old grill brush that will reach in there, extend my arm, and provide a rough surface to scrape and loosen up any matted fur, poop, manure, so on and so forth. Poop and manure are the same thing. I realize that. I said it. Okay. leave me alone. Anyways, next tools are these paint scrapers. These work great to get in there and also help loosen up anything. You can also run these along the bottom of the cages to break up any poop or dingleberries that might be hanging around. A couple bucks at your local hardware store. Also, rags. I wet rags down and rub my cages with wet rags. The wet rag attracts the fur and kind of collects it to the rag better than if it's dry. When it's dry, you have a lot of fur flying everywhere. When it's wet, it kind of acts as a magnet and does a better job collecting that fur. So not a lot of tools involved. There are more fancy, oops, I dropped that in the water. There are more fancy things you could buy. This is just what I have on hand that seems to work pretty well for me. In my ideal world, I would have something like a power tool with a toilet brush on the end going in there and cleaning it up. I haven't went to that level yet, but maybe one day I will. For now, this is what I use routinely to clean my rabbit cages. Because my rabbitry is in a barn, I also need one of these bad guys. He collects all the cobwebs that bless my rabbitry on a continuous basis. This was one that was used in my home that now retired to the barn, and it has a very hard and nasty job. We have a lot of, oh my gosh, we have a lot of cobwebs happening out here, and this guy stays busy and gets the job done. So you might need one of these if you're out in a place with cobwebs and spiders. I hope this gives you a little behind the scenes look at how I do my cleaning here in my rabbitry. Again, I wouldn't say that I have this beautiful Instagram rabbitry like those Instagram homes you see or Pinterest homes. No, no, no. I have a very highly functioning rabbitry that involves live animals, believe it or not, urinating and pooping all the time and digging in their corners of their cage with their hay and whatever else they might have. And therefore, it sometimes can get a little messy, but I have to do my part to stay upon their needs, and so do you. If you have any questions about cleaning and routines, leave them in the comments below and I'll do my best to answer those for you. If ever you have a disease or an illness come up in your rabbitry, that is a whole different process to treat and clean those cages. And I'm going to work on a video sharing some of that for you in the future. Once I have that video up, I will leave it here for you to go back and watch. I don't have that yet, so don't look for it yet, but in the future I will, because you need to do some different steps if you've had illness within your rabbitry. Until next time, eat more rabbit! It's a little bunny cleaning its foot. Oh my gosh, I can't handle it. It's so cute. It's so cute. But I would say my rabbitry